viewers. Today I'm going to talk about and review some coffees to have when you are absolutely miserable. Unfortunately, the past month or so has been a just mess of horrific things that have just happened in my life, and it's been horrible. My life has been a nightmare for the past 2 months, or about 2 months. It all started with my grandmother had a stroke. With a lot of memory loss issues. She's no longer able to live by herself, so that's a big ordeal in itself, right? If you've gone through that. My dog had a strange, gigantic lump on his foot that we were in and out of the vet's office with, trying some ways to possibly get rid of it without having to cut it because it's on his toe, and that would take some of his paw off if they cut it off. Eventually, a lot of the steroids and the prescriptions did not work on this lump. We, along with the vet, suspected it to be very cancerous, and they were talking about actually cutting his whole foot off. So we took it to the vet, or not his foot, but his toe. They were going to start with, and their theory was that they would have to cut the toe off, not the foot. But they did cut the lump off, and they biopsied, and luckily it was a benign tumor. That was the bit of good news through this whole thing is that he is doing okay, and the dog is, or my dog is on the mend. His name is Minkman. So that's been good. My sister had appendicitis. You get those calls in the middle of the night that she's in the hospital vomiting constantly, and you don't know what it is. So that's a big worry. That keeps you up at night. It's just been a ton of stuff. My husband got rear-ended and has a concussion. He is on the mend now, doing okay. My dog has a urinary tract infection, so my other dog, Corn Dog, has a urinary tract infection, so I'm taking urine samples to do that. So it's just been a nightmare. Our whole well system just kind of died. Our well pump stopped working, and we tried to fix it, and we ended up having to call service out, and it cost a lot of money because they have to repair the whole well system. So that's fun. We were out of water for a couple weeks, and of course my house bought a few years ago, and it was a flip. So nobody had any idea where the well actually was. There was some suspicion of where it would be, but there was no markers, nothing. So I had to go out there, and I was digging up the well to figure out where that is so that the service can come out and replace everything. And because of where the well actually was, it was next to some of our gas lines, so I had to use a shovel like this big. It was like a trowel, and dig a 6-foot hole deep. It was about 6 feet down and probably about 5 to 6 feet away from the house. So we did find it, we did get it, we have water again, everything's working, so I'm trying to be optimistic that things are going to turn around, but it's been awfully miserable, and if you're watching this video, then you probably have gone or in some kind of a miserable situation that you just wish you weren't dealing with it at the time. So with that all being said, let's talk about some coffee options. The first one I'm going to get to is if you're anxious, if you have depression, if you have a lot of anxiety, if the worry is getting to you, like, with my dog and with my husband's car accident, there's a lot of worry. My grandmother's stroke, of course. There's a lot of worry, and it keeps you up late at night, and you just feel sick to your stomach all the time. For that case, I want to recommend a decaf coffee for when you're miserable, and that would be this toasted hazelnut, this Target brand, Good Gather. I picked it up at Target a long time ago. I hadn't actually tried it until this past month when my life became cursed, and I really like it. It had the subtle hazelnut flavor in there, which I like, and it was decaf. I wanted to drink coffee, but I did not want the caffeine with it because I was already in a state of panic, and caffeine would have just made it so much worse. So I went with this option. It was a good option. If you're feeling miserable and you have some anxiety issues and some stress level issues, try the decaf, try the hazelnut, and it's not expensive either. So if you don't typically drink decaf coffee, like I typically drink fully caffeinated or extra caffeinated coffee. This is worth picking up just for those moments. On the flip side of that, if you have to get a lot of stuff done because you're in a full panic, like when I mentioned the well system and having to dig up the well in a short period of time with a little tiny shovel, go for the extra caffeine. That's where this comes from, the Death Wish Coffee Company. Now they do make this in medium and dark roast. I chose the medium roast because I'm not really a dark roast fan. And the trick with this is when you brew this coffee, you put in extra than more than you typically would for a cup of coffee. Get that extra caffeine in there. So when you have to dig a hole really fast and you don't know where it is, try this. Or if you're moving, if you have a limited amount of time to do anything, if you have to move somebody out, if you're still trying to work and, you have a lot of projects and deadlines, this is a way to go. The coffee tastes good. You would think something that claims to be the world's strongest coffee would be completely dark, completely acidic, have that tar feeling, just tastes like mud really, and this doesn't. This does not at all. This just tastes like a good cup of coffee. So if you want the caffeine in a good cup of coffee, here's your other option. And then my third, that doesn't want to stand up too well. My third recommendation for you is this New England Coffee Company Blueberry Cobbler. And this was my comfort go-to when all this stuff just kind of started happening and unfolding within a short period of time. Like I wanted, 10 to 15 minutes of just kind of being comforted, that feeling of just like, give me a few minutes before my day goes to shit. That's what this was for me. And I chose this Blueberry Cobbler, and I on those moments when I wanted something comforting, I went right to this. And my pantry is full of coffees. I probably have 50 to 60 bags of coffee in there right now. And through all that, I specifically was searching for this one when I wanted to feel comfort, because this blueberry is extremely strong. I can smell it in the bag now, and I'm like this far, half a foot away from it. It has a very strong, powerful flavor of the blueberry in there. You don't really get much cobbler. It is all blueberry. And typically on a regular day, it's too much. It is too much flavor. It almost tastes like you're drinking like blueberry juice or something like that. It's so potent in there. But when I wanted to be comforted, I wanted something super strong. I didn't want a balanced coffee. I just want a full cup of flavor that just made me feel like, oh goodness, this is nice. Made me feel like a blanket was wrapped around me. That's what I wanted this for. So those are my three options when you're having an absolute miserable time. I'm probably never going to watch this video again because I don't really want to remember this time in my life. It's just been so crazy hectic, and the misery hasn't stopped yet. I still have other issues going on that I'm not going to mention. But when you're in a pickle like this and you feel bad, think about, do I need caffeine, yes or no, and what kind of flavor is really going to comfort me the most. And I know that coffee is not going to fix your day. Coffee is not going to fix your problems. But if you have 10 to 15 minutes or, a half an hour in the morning every day, you're like, I'm going to eat breakfast and I'm going to have a cup of coffee, get something that speaks to you on your comfort level and adjust your caffeine base as needed. So, with that being said, I'm going to let you go. If you are watching this because you are miserable, I really hope that ends for you, and hope everything gets better in the end. So that's